afraid that I wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer and that I didn't really have the background to be a lawyer. I didn't really come from a family where there were a lot of lawyers or doctors or people that were in that kind of professional life. Certainly my parents encouraged me to do that, but I couldn't really see myself being a lawyer. My father was born and raised in Isleta. He really wanted to go to college, and the only way that he could afford to do that was through a grant through the Air Force. After being in the Air Force a few years, he met my mother, who's Australian, and my mother and father met in Spain. So I was born in Spain and spent a number of years moving around from place to place. But we always came back to Isleta, for vacations and for important times in my life. Soon after I was born, my family brought me back here to get my Indian name. And then we came back when I was about 9 for a second naming ceremony.
When my daughter Raquel was in school, it was always our hope that she would continue from high school to go on to college. For some reason unknown to me, she decided that law was something that she was really interested in. And that got me excited because I just think law is the ultimate career to have.
Well, a lot of my undergraduate professors encouraged me to go on to some sort of graduate school, and so they were a big influence in building my confidence. Financially, it was a bit scary because, I didn't have any kind of real resources to pay my way through school, so I knew I'd have to work. And pretty much all the other Indian students that I went to law school with, we all worked, and that was just kind of a fact of our lives. And I was offered scholarships and loan packages and decided to take the one that was a good school, but also one where I felt like I wasn't going to come out with huge debt.
After she finished law school, she came down to New Mexico, took the New Mexico bar and passed it, and went to the Supreme Court to clerk for our Supreme Court justice.
My experience was that kind of regardless of where we were in the class, the career placement people tended not to raise that as a possibility for Indian students. And so it seemed that I was really the first Indian law clerk that they had on the state Supreme Court, and perhaps the first Indian law clerk that they'd had in any of the courts. The law firm that I work at is a private law firm, and we represent tribal clients from all over the country. It's a job that involves a lot of, really kind of hard thinking about what an issue is. So sometimes I'm sitting at my desk and I probably don't look like I'm working because I'm just sitting there contemplating. I write every day, whether it's a short letter to a client or a 30-page brief. I mean, there's just a lot of writing that I do. And that's something that's probably the most critical, is to be able to express yourself in writing and to explain difficult legal concepts in a way that somebody who's not a lawyer will understand. One of the great things for me and having gone to law school is that I really have something to offer to my tribe. So as a result of my becoming a lawyer, the tribe asked me to become a tribal judge. That's one of the other things that I do in addition to working at the law firm. And we try to combine the traditional Isleta ways of resolving disputes with the more standard legal approaches. And so that's one way that I can learn more about my tribe's traditions. For the past several years, there have been bills presented in Congress that would affect tribes' ability to continue governing themselves as they have in the past. And at one of the hearings held in the Northwest, the property owners showed up to protest the tribe's ability to collect shellfish and otherwise enforce their treaty rights. The tribes also showed up to express their concerns.
It's the tribal future, I think, that you're putting at risk with this bill.
Sue Williams, a partner in our law firm, went to that particular hearing to testify on behalf of one of the Northwest tribes. Many times our job as tribal attorneys is to address some of the misconceptions that are held even by some of our senators. One of the myths that we constantly face is that tribes are getting money from the United States to fund their legal claims.
It indicates for your tribe that the federal government payment to the tribe was something over $11 million. Is it out of that payment that you pay for your attorneys in that shellfish litigation?
Let me just say that assuming it was $11 million under the Self-Governance Compact, that is money that the United States is paying the tribes to do the United States' job.
Well, that's a novel description of what the money goes for, but I'll accept it as your view. My point was that these sovereign nations have their lawyers paid for by the federal government. The shellfish owners and the property owners pay for their own lawyers out of their own pockets.
And that's so because of the trust resources the United States government is responsible for.
Running has been very important to the Pueblo people, and people ran from village to village to deliver news and to get news. So running felt like it was a connection to my ancestors. And running became really integral to my success in law school, and I always run every day. One of the things I've learned from running is the power that your mind has, the fact that I've been able to run marathons, even though I've had asthma or even though I've been tired sometimes at the end of a marathon, has really taught me that if I really put my mind to it, I can do whatever I want to do.